Good Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope your weekend is off to a good start. A little over 24 hours away from the Browns' first-round playoff game against the Houston Texans down in Houston. C.J. Stroud, likely Offensive Rookie of the Year, will be quarterbacking for the Texans. Browns didn't face him first time they played him back Christmas Eve in Texas. Former NFL offensive lineman Brian Baldinger takes a look at C.J. Stroud, some of the things he did against the Colts, also points out what to expect the Browns to do against Stroud.
It's the footwork.
Yeah.
It's the eyes up. It's recognize I'm in trouble right here, feeling it. And now, okay, what else do I have? Oh, Nico might come available right here. I can throw it. It's what we call throwing him open. I can throw him open right here. And that's what he does. Like it's, all these plays are to Nico because he's their number one. Like one more here up at the top. Like that's right in front of the safety. If this ball is lazy, if it's high, the free safety on this play, who's Julian Blackmon, like he's going to pick this ball.
Yep.
Now, Nico's 6'4", he's 215, he's a big target. But, like, this could be a dangerous throw in front of that free safety.
You got a whole other animal in that Cleveland Browns defense.
Well, they play man coverage. They're a sticky man coverage team. They'll change things up. They won't play all man. So you got to have your man beaters up. You got to have your bunch formations. You got to have your crossers. You got to have your rubs, your slant, flat, curl, flat combinations against man coverage. So you got to beat these guys a different way. Now, Schwartzy's got these guys playing really good.
Yeah.
So they know what's coming. So it's not like you're going to catch them off guard. Like they played San Francisco in man coverage. Nobody does that. And they beat those guys that day. They picked off Brock Purdy. So they've seen great quarterbacks. And I'm sure that Jim Schwartz will have something for C.J. Stroud that he hasn't quite seen yet.
With that, let's welcome in G. Bush from 92.3 The Fan, as well as the Barber Shop, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. G. Bush, that on-camera part with Brian Baldinger, I heard that, and I'm like, that's what I've been saying and what I've been thinking all week.
First of all, how good is Brian Baldinger? Like, come on, man. Like that's what I aspire to be. Like, the way to tell it like that, like he just came off like the authority. He didn't even let the guy get the question out. He said, they're going to have some new stuff. You're going to have some new wrinkles. But what he said was, what he said wasn't very profound because we've been kind of saying some of that in Cleveland as we anticipate what this Jim Schwartz defense is going to look like moving into the playoffs. And, when you talk about the Cleveland Browns, they're going to have Denzel Ward, it looks like, from all the reports. You got those three corners back there that are playing some of the best man coverage. You look at their grades in man coverage, Newsome, Emerson, and Ward. They might be called the law firm. They're back there just locking everything up, sending all guys to litigation and everything. Right now, you take a look at those three guys, and then the wild card is here. And we kind of discussed this before we got on here, and you were right on. JOK. JOK is going to be one of those guys that's going to be the fifth man rushing. And I almost think that Jim Schwartz had to do this. He had to pare it down during the regular season. I think Jim Schwartz, I would say probably, 5, 6, 7 games into the season, he probably was like, listen, I'm not going to give everything away. He put Myles Garrett, the basketball player, away. You didn't see any more dribbling at the line of scrimmage. He wasn't running around doing that. He said, guys, run a lead is too excited about that. And JOK blitzing as the fifth blitzer, that was something else that he kind of stopped a little bit too. But when you add him into that mix in the 5-man rushes, I would expect to see some safety blitzes as well. So C.J. Stroud is going to be under pressure. But it might not necessarily be man coverage in the back end. It could be disguised as some zones, some fire zones. So I expect to heat C.J. Stroud up and for him to see some looks that he necessarily hasn't seen all year.
Yep, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. All right, everybody excited about this? Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason for the first time today.
Hi, this is Leonard, the Canadian, leaving a message from Okinawa, Japan. Upcoming game against the Texans. With Denzel, I'm predicting like 34-13. Without Denzel, something like 28-20, something like that. One other point, this offensive line has actually been together for a good portion of the second half of the season. I think they're going to be fine. And the running game isn't as bad as people think. it'll get the job done. I think they start quickly and keep pouring it on, and the Texans just self-destruct under the pressure. Go Browns! Let's go! Should be a great game to watch and to watch a great win.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Yeah, I think the game's going to be closer than that, G. Bush. I think the Texans are a pretty good team. If the run game gets going, watch out.
Yeah, shout out to all the Browns backers and the people all around the country and all around the globe. Japan, we're in Japan, man. The Browns backers are strong. Listen, I think it's gonna be a closer game than that. Now I'll take a blowout if they want to give it to me. You never turn down a blowout. Just like you never turn down a free chicken sandwich. You just gonna give me that? I'll take it. But look, I tell you what, the run game. If they get the run game going, it's going to be a long night for Houston. It's going to be a long night because the Browns have been working magic with the play action, and we have not had great running performances, and the play action is still working. They have to respect it, right? But when you get the running game going, and then they have to commit an extra one or two guys in the box, you're in trouble now because now the play action is devastating. Now you're looking around and you're like, wow, that guy was open. I think there are going to be multiple receivers open in this game because of the high-low action with Amari Cooper, who, by the way, torched off for 265 last game, and David Njoku, who to me is probably become, he's in the most dangerous tight end moving right now. No disrespect to Kelsey. No disrespect to George Kittle. Right now, the way he's working with Joe Flacco, I feel he's the biggest downfield threat, run after catch threat at tight end. He's a nightmare to tackle, and he's been doing a great job helping our tackles out. I think if the run game gets going, that 34 to 31 to 14 could be a real thing.
All right, so you alluded to Denzel Ward. Tweaked his knee, practiced yesterday, posted this a little bit ago. And people are taking into account, they think Denzel Ward telling us, without telling us, that he's going to be good to go against the Texans. And again, you need that guy in coverage to be as good as you can be defensively.
Right now, this is the time. And I heard Myles Garrett speak the other day, and he spoke on the fact that you never know when you're going to get that opportunity. Young guys and guys that, come up, they think if they make the playoffs in the couple first few years that they're going to always be in the playoffs, like that's your birthright or something. You never know when you're talking about the NFL, when it is your last snap, when is your next time you're going to be in the playoffs, and from year to year, week to week, day to day, are you a contender? So when the Cleveland Browns got an opportunity to go out there and do their thing and play against the Texans in a favorable matchup, in my opinion, everybody's supposed to be locked in. And if you can go, if you got 2 legs, 2 arms, and 2 eyes, and you can move around a little bit, you're going to play in this game. I fully expected Denzel Ward to be ready to go. Unless you tore an MCL or ACL or you tore your Achilles heel, I expected him to be out there, even if it's just in pass downs. They've done that too a little bit when he had the shoulder injury. So that's a good sign from Denzel Ward. Seems like he's ready to go, and that Denzel Ward is what gives the Browns the big I think advantage in this passing game, because if they wanted to, they could simply just bracket coverage Nico Collins if they wanted to. But I think he'll be out there one-on-one, and I think they'll cover him like that. So I expect him to play, excited about the opportunity to see him out there in Houston.
Yeah, and Browns defense much better, obviously, with Denzel Ward than they are when he can't play. All right, Peter Schrager. This is from NFL Network's Good Morning Football, talking about who he is all in with for the Wild Card Weekend.
The first game of Wild Card Weekend is tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 Eastern, and a 38-year-old quarterback who was on a commercial flight in coach when he came over to visit with the team for the first time mid-season is going to be under center. I said it yesterday. I said it multiple times, and that's a cool-listening sound of the graphic there. In the history of the NFL, 2 quarterbacks have the most road postseason wins in the game. It is Tom Brady with Joe Flacco with 7. If he beats the Texans, he has the most road victories in postseason football play.
Come on now.
In the history of the sport.
Oh, wow.
I'm trusting him. He looks great. He's having fun. Joe Flacco is my wild card.
And G. Bush, again, it doesn't guarantee anything. But if you're giving me a choice between a guy who can have the most road wins in NFL playoff history and a rookie making his first start, I'm taking the veteran every day and twice on game day.
Hey, listen, man. If I was him, if I was Joe Flacco, I'd come into the locker room, you know, looking like the grandpa he is, and you know, with the stubble and the gray, and you know, just a little trench coat with a gray T-shirt on. But I'd have that championship ring on, and I let these guys know that guess what? When we had to do this in Baltimore, I told the guys that we would get it done, and I'm telling you guys, this is how we did get it done back then. This team has some of the same type pieces. They got talents. They got generational talents. And why not us? And I think him going into that locker room, not only as a guy who can win on the road, not only as a guy who's playing well right now, but a guy who has hoisted that trophy means something. Like, he can let those guys know how much that means and what you can say. And, by the way, I'll just be the first to throw it out there. If you look at the statistics and you talk about the top 20 and all-time passing yards in the statistics, Joe Flacco is right there. He's chasing something I think a lot of people not putting on his plate. If you can win a Super Bowl, I told you, a Super Bowl in Cleveland is worth 2. LeBron James found that out. He won in Cleveland. He got an extra bump. If Joe Flacco can lead the Browns out of the living room, off, and I don't like saying off the couch because everyone's saying it now, off the couch with the ring, you got to look at him as a possible Hall of Famer. 2 championships, 2 MVPs. He did it with the Ravens and the Browns, and the Browns haven't done since 64. Come on.
Yeah.
He's in contention. He's in contention for it, I'm telling you that.
Without question. A second Super Bowl title puts him on the short list there for the Hall of Fame, without question. All right, some roster news for the game tomorrow. The Browns elevate John Kelly and kicker Riley Patterson. Kelly kind of spells, it could be that third back is Pierre Strong with the back injury. Patterson is a guy who has made a game-winning kick in a playoff game, did it last year for the Jaguars. So, again, you want Dustin Hopkins back. Patterson does have some success making pressure kicks. But, man, I feel much better when Dustin Hopkins is in there.
This is actually something that a lot of people aren't talking about. This is what you should keep your eye on. Watch for the early field goal. If they get somewhere in the 40s, watch and see what Kevin Stefanski does. I think he'll give him an opportunity to kick, and if he makes that kick, I think he goes into the rest of the game as I'll trust him. But if he misses an extra point off a touchdown, or if he misses a field goal under 40 yards or somewhere in between 40 and 49 yards, I think that Kevin Stefanski is going to go into riverboat gambler. Kevin Stefanski, he's going to call 2 plays, put him in the huddle. You're going to see a lot of plays on third down that are trying to get a couple of yards so that it makes it fourth and manageable. And I expect him to go for it on fourth down a lot. So this is a big time thing, especially when you're talking about this game could possibly be close. I don't think Kevin Stefanski is going to put his playoff in the season in the hands of a kicker who's only been here for 5 seconds or long enough to get a hot coffee. I think he's going to be super aggressive if he does not come out and kick well in the beginning of the game.
Couldn't agree with you more. G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out, other side of the break, back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll take a look at some things you need to know about this matchup with the Texans. Sports for CLE. Be right back.
Ooh, holiday gold! The $20 scratch off?
It has 100 times multiplier. I could win $1 million.
Psych! I got Merry and Bright.
No fair.
It has a 200 times multiplier. I could win $2 million!
Game on the back.
Game on the back. Game on the back! Game on the back! Game on the back! Game on the back! Game.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from 92.3 The Fans, The Barbershop, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
I still feel like the Browns are being disrespected. You're looking at both teams' schedule and the type of adversity that both teams face. I think we face the most talented teams on our schedule than the Texans. The Texans haven't been battle-tested throughout the year as much as we have. We beat the 49ers. We beat the Ravens, the Steelers, and we beat so many good teams this year. And the fact that we're being overlooked games still a little bit by national reporters who still want to see us fail is wild to see, but not surprising.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. G. Bush, beautiful thing about this is it's decided on the field. It's not an AP vote. It's not who gets the most votes. You get to decide it on the field. So is the national media overlooking the Browns? Maybe a little.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I think it's night and day from what they were talking about in the beginning of the year. I mean, we did shows over the summertime, and it was just like, really, you guys are picking them to come in last place? You guys are 6-7 wins possibly. That's the funny thing about sports, and it's the greatest thing about sports. We cover it and we sit on the sidelines. I always say we are guests in the arena, in the pantheon of sports, and we talk about it, we create the narratives about it, and we generate the buzz around it. But the greatest thing about it is when you get between those white lines, there's nothing you or I or any fan can do about the product on the field. It's up to those guys on the field, and championships are won, earned, lost on that field. So Greg, don't let them not enjoy us. Let them overlook us. I'm sure the Texans feel that way too. I'm sure every single team in the playoffs is telling themselves, guys, it's us, it's only us. We need to worry about what we're doing because they don't believe in us. They don't believe in, and they don't know what this team is about. Every single team is saying that about their team and the coaches and the organization. So now everybody in the playoffs, they got good players, they got good coaches, they got, great supporting staff. And guess what? Now it's time to play it on the field. We'll find out who's the best. You get an opportunity to prove yourself on that field in between those white lines, and that's why America loves the game of football.
So Chris Sims, former NFL quarterback, on the concerns he has for the Browns against the Texans. This from NBC Sports, Chris Sims unbuttoned.
We're going to look into your notebook here, specifically some of the things that you have mentioned already about this Browns defense. Browns defense is so aggressive and crazy. Is that and crazy?
Yeah, and crazy. Yep. Not my best handwriting.
They will give you a chance to make 3 or 4 big plays a game. Can you take advantage of it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, even in the game against the Texans the first time around, they do so much, right? And they're so into like, wait, you're in this formation, we got this defense, and then you switch to another, you motion somebody across in the formation change, and they get to a totally new, different defense, right? To where they will mess some things up every now and then, too. I mean, they blew a coverage or two during the game where, like, Case Keenum got hit just as he was throwing. You're like, oh, my gosh, he's uncovered. He's wide open. He's going to go down the field. They had a play where they faked the run to the left. The fullback acted like he was going to block the linebacker and then continued up the field. And Keenum couldn't get the ball off. And, I mean, we're talking wide open, at least 60 yards. That's what I mean. They're going to have a few chances. Can you take advantage of it? Can you be calm enough? See, quarterbacks miss plays like this all the time against Cleveland because it's like every play is like, whoa, duck, whoa, I have nowhere to throw. So then you have a little time and everything, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh my God, everything's hastened up and fast in your brain because they're all over the place. They do a ton of different things up front.
And G. Bush, that's the way Jim Schwartz has designed this defense from the get-go.
Yeah, man. Hey, shout out. I like that, Sims. You right on that. I can go back down. I can go down through the pipeline. There was first play of the year. There was a play over there where T. Higgins was, Jamar Chase was open. Missed him. There's plays where they've given up big plays against Trevor Lawrence. There's plays that the Pittsburgh Steelers and Warren got around the end on the jet sweep. Big time plays to guys like DK Metcalf in Seattle. So there's a bunch of games, even Puka Nacua and some of those guys for the Rams. There's games where the Cleveland Browns are in 2 to 3 times, sometimes 4 times in a game, where you're going to have an opportunity if you can connect that you got a favorable matchup and it could be a touchdown. But here's the problem. That's, the Browns believe that, the more we bring, the more pressure we bring to you, the more times we'll be able to accumulate hits and pressures and hits on the quarterbacks and blitzing everywhere. For every 2 times or 3 times you're going to do that, we're going to generate 3 sacks, 2 picks, 2 strip sacks from behind, and we're going to have a negative play on rundowns 2 or 3, 4 or 5 times in the game. And so they believe that they can score or put the offense in position to score more than you can hit those big plays. Because if you hit the big plays, they still say, well, listen, next down, we'll go 3 and out, or next play, we'll get 3 sacks in the drive. They do so much different things that I think that is true, but you're not only going to have to hit 2 or 3 of those plays. To beat the Browns, I think you got to hit about 5 of them, right, to consistently be in the game, because they're going to take it away sometimes too.
Yeah, Jim Schwartz considers the big plays the cost of doing business for all the negative plays and pressure that you're putting on. All right, this from ESPN.com wildcard preview. Couple of these we'll go through. What to watch for. Last time 2 teams played, Amari Cooper finished team record 265 yards. Texans didn't have C.J. Stroud. Matchup will be much different when he's healthy. Bold predictions. Browns will win the turnover battle for only the 3rd time this season. It's the first matchup since the 1970 merger featuring team that's committed the league's most turnovers. It's the Browns with 37. Team that has committed the fewest turnovers, that's the Texans, 14. G. Bush, the Browns, they've only won the turnover battle twice, and they've only pushed it 3 times. They've only had one game. The Cardinals game is the only game they didn't turn it over. They win the turnover battle, they're awfully hard to beat.
Yeah, if they don't turn the ball over, and their defense plays like the defense plays, where they the most 3 and outs, they're up there in causing turnovers. Talk about the pressure ratings that they give you. If you can't get turnovers in short fields, you're gonna have to drive the ball to score in the Browns defense, which is not very. It's not that's not an easy prospect for your team when you got to go 70, 80, 90 yards against the Browns defense. So if they're not turning it over, if they're not giving you the ball, and the way Joe Flacco's been throwing the football and getting touchdowns and doing it in the first quarter, you might be down 17 points by the time you even look around and say, wow, what happened to us? Because that's how the Browns kind of snowball on you. Now, the thing I will say about the Browns is they've let some teams back in the game a little bit. They did that to the Texans. The game was much closer in the score than it really denoted. They actually had to put Amari Cooper back in the game. But I think if they can keep that killer instinct and have that focus for the entire game, I think the Browns will be pretty tough to beat, especially in this first round with the Texans.
Yeah, and you would expect that instinct to be there with a win-or-go-home mentality. All right, from that same article, Stat to Know, C.J. Stroud's weakness, man coverage. Has the highest QBR in the league against zone coverage, 74, 27th against man, 39th. This weekend, Stroud will face a Browns defense that runs man coverage at the 10th highest rate, 47%, and has the best man defense in the league. Matchup X factor, cornerbacks Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson, whenever they are lining up on Nico Collins. Collins second in yards per route run, behind only Tyreek Hill. And again, that's going to be something that we're going to want to watch. Who's on Nico Collins? And they better be on him tight, and they better be defending like they can.
Yeah, this is. I think the game boils down to this. We can look at a lot of different things, but when you don't have Tank Dell, which is your speed guy, you're forced to have Nico Collins, and you got Dalton Schultz, who's a solid tight end, who's going to run a lot of the underneath stuff. But when you look at the matchup, it's can Nico Collins get off press man coverage and win his routes off the line of scrimmage and have enough time to do it in order to have C.J. Stroud get to the ball to him with timing and rhythm. I just think that the Browns secondary overall is just better than the receiving core of the Titans. As a matter of fact, as I look around the whole entire field, I give the Cleveland Browns a slight edge in every single position category, from defensive line to O-line to receivers and defensive backs. And the closest they are at any position is quarterback. But as we stated before, give me the veteran over a rookie. The Texans are going to find out why it's so difficult for a rookie or 2 rookies, and Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud, for them to be your best 2 players. You're going to figure out why that's a problem and why it was a nice story. You guys definitely got the pieces apart to be a great organization. D'Amico Ryans probably is going to be coach of the year. He'll be battling with Kevin Stefanski, but you'll find out that, you're going to need some more pieces and parts, and rookies cannot be your best player.
Yeah, and again, they might be a year ahead of where they thought they would be organizationally.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is a really good team. They're young and they're really good, and they're going to get only better. All right, before I let you go, let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason one last time.
Dave, Mike in West Virginia. I am so tense this week, and in my 45 years of being a Browns fan, I think this is the first time I can honestly say that I can look at our team and say we actually look like we might have the best team in the NFL. And that's got me tensed up. And all my friends are telling me to enjoy this, no matter what happens, enjoy this. It's hard to enjoy this because I don't think we've ever had an opportunity like this. And a lot of things has got to go the right way. I think a lot of people feel like I do now. They look at our team and it just doesn't look like, we really have a glaring weakness as long as we just do our job. And we've already proven we can beat Baltimore and San Francisco. So what's your guys' thoughts on this? Go Brownies.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. G. Bush, I've said this all week. You win in the NFL in the playoffs with elite units. So be it if you have a great kicker, if you have a great offense, if you have a great Browns have a great defense. That gives them the chance to be the best team in this tournament.
I'm going to ask you, can I steal that? I like that, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Steal that.
Make it yours.
I'm going to give you credit for that, too. I like that. You win with elite units, and the Browns definitely got one. That defense has been elite, and it's been battle-tested. So it's not like guys, can the Browns lose a game? Sure. Once again, I respect every team in the playoffs because they're there for a reason. But let me just give you this. The Cleveland Browns play in the best division in football. Every team in our division, we play twice. And the Baltimore is the top of the food chain, right? We beat them in their house. You're playing in a division that everybody is over 500, right? You're playing in a division that's the best in football. Now, go look at it. The top two teams, we just talked about the Ravens, you already beat the 49ers. They look like the best team moving. And if you say the 49ers look like the best team moving, the Baltimore Ravens went in their house and spanked them. So, the Browns have played against some great opponents, and the Browns have shown that they have, which will probably be the defensive player of the year. They got elite corners that play man-to-man coverage that make it a problem. They got speed. They got rotations up front. They got depth. And they got a quarterback that we finally, and why you're scared a little bit is, yeah, we've had some good defenses before. We haven't had one like this. But the thing that we have definitely never had is a quarterback who's playing like Flacco's playing. That's the scary part, right? Because we haven't seen that. We've seen the defense and some of the other things, special teams and, running game, but we have not seen a quarterback come out there and be able to throw the ball, throw for throw with other elite quarterbacks and get down the field when you need to. That's what makes it a little scary, but hey, just trust me, man. The Browns are a good team. I think you're going to be in for a great run, win, lose, or draw throughout the playoffs. And the Browns legitimately, for the first time, I must say, they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
I'm with you. Let's buckle up and enjoy the ride. It starts about 24 hours. G. Bush, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Go Browns.
All right, G. Bush, make sure you check him out. Always really good stuff. 92.3 The Fan, The Barbershop, Saturday mornings 8 till noon. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Monday through Friday from 11 until 1. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Video analysis, film breakdown, C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson of the Texans. Lance Reisland, straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
continue talking Browns on Sports for CLE, getting ready for the game Saturday afternoon to kick off the playoffs against the Houston Texans. Time for a video analysis film breakdown. Let's welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Lance, a couple of rookies who are really, really good, one on each side of the ball for the Texans. Let's start with the quarterback, C.J. Stroud, guy that the Browns didn't get to see the first time. He's probably going to be the offensive rookie of the year. Take us through what you have seen from C.J. Stroud when you break down what he has done this year.
Well, first thing you see is his ability to process information. And, coming out, there's a number of people said that he struggled with processing of information. And can't do that in a Ryan Day offense. Whether you like Ryan Day or not, his offense is very complex in what they do. He understands what he sees. And the term I hear all the time with C.J. Stroud is throwing people open. That comes from understanding where the defenders are, which means you understand what the coverage is. And when you do that, you can lead people into spots. That's why he only has 5 interceptions, because he's very smart with the football. And then you talk the mechanics of it, right? He's got great footwork. He transfers his weight. He's fundamentally really, really sound. He moves his feet very well. There's a lot of things he does very well, and I've heard, him and Will Anderson have changed the culture that I hear a lot. But really, for me, they're really good football players. You can have a really good culture when you have really good football players. And that's what it comes down to. And, I've heard that a lot with the Browns, and chemistry means something. But chemistry doesn't mean anything if you're not a good football player. And these two are really good football players.
All right, this first clip, kind of what you have been talking about with footwork and accuracy and processing. Take us through it.
Well, like you said, he's got elite footwork, his process, his anticipation, his accuracy, his arm talent, his weight transfer, confidence. So what you like here is he's going to work from left to right. And as he works left to right, the thing I like is watch his feet. His feet will transfer from left to right. Not big movements, short, quick little movements. And then you see the weight transfer. So he's reading coverage, he's moving from left to right. And then he's got a really elite arm because of the fact that he's on time. Very much like Joe Flacco in terms of he throws a catchable ball. So a guy like Nico Collins is a much better receiver because he gets the ball where he can catch it. And Stroud throws a very catchable ball, whether it's a deep ball, an underneath ball. He's not always throwing it, 100 miles per hour. Very catchable. He's very elite in everything he does. This is going to be a difference this week, though, because he's going to face a defense that's not going to let him do this, kind of sit there and process. He's going to have to make plays quickly because the Browns are coming.
Yeah, the other thing that jumps out at that first clip that we looked at there is that pocket. He got a lot of room to work and a lot of time to throw. Take us through this next one, what you see in this next clip.
So here you're going to get 21 personnel. You get two backs, tight end, and they're in a run set here on first down. And what you get, here's the idea of throwing people open. So this is a coverage where the Saints got 8-9 in the box, and he understands that this void over here on the left side at about 20 yards. So very good off play action. Again, very good footwork, weight transfer. Can do all the things you need to do physically as a quarterback. Mentally, he's really, really sharp, and he understands pre-snap where this hole is going to be, and just throws his receiver open. Very, very easy throw. This is kind of a play concept too. By being in 21 personnel, you get everybody down in the box. Good play action, easy throw for Stroud here.
Yeah, again, you see a lot of time to get back and set up, so it'll be interesting to see. All right, take us through this next clip, what you see in this one.
So here you get a third down. You get a third down and 10. This is pretty impressive. This is one of his more impressive throws to me because he's staring down the barrel of blitz here. So the Colts are going to bring 7, and he gets rid of the ball. Now, again, the difference between the Browns and what the Colts can do is, first of all, the Browns don't have to bring 7 to get pressure. Secondly, you'll see the corner up top is playing soft. Corners for the Browns are not going to do that. So there's two things that are going to be separate. He's going to have to hold on to the ball a little bit longer because of the Browns' coverage. And that coverage, he's also going to have to worry about underneath coverage because they'll have linebackers because the Browns create pressure with 4 or 5. Most of the time just with 4. So he's going to see this type of pressure, but the secondary is going to be a lot more sound and a lot more they're going to match the pressure up front. So it's going to be a whole different thing that he's seen. This is the best defense he's going to see by a long shot.
Yeah, and that one is impressive. That time there was not a lot of time to throw. He gets it out on target. All right, let's take a look at the fourth and final clip of C.J. Stroud and what you see here.
So last year I had to do a breakdown of who I thought the number 1 quarterback was, and it started with, for me, I was pretty much tied. And Stroud because of his size, and then what he did against Georgia, not with his arm because he could always throw it, It's what he did with his feet against Georgia. Because Georgia obviously is not an NFL caliber defense, but they're as good as a defense as a college can offer. His ability to make plays with his feet are going to be necessary if the Texans are going to have success this week. He's going to have to make plays. He's going to have to make that crucial third down pickup. He's going to have to scramble within the pocket. So this is the scariest thing about him for the Browns, in my opinion, his ability to move his feet and make plays on the ground.
Yeah, he recognizes that's man coverage. That's one of the reasons he takes off. So that kind of goes into your processing part as well. So Stroud likely the offensive rookie of the year. Let's flip it. The guy that is in contention and very well could be the defensive rookie of the year. Also missed the first game against the Browns. Will Anderson, this is an edge guy that they expect to get both of their edge rushers back. It's going to be a problem. This first clip that we see with Anderson, what do you see here? What do you like about him?
Well, they do a lot. So what he does really, really well, he's only 240 pounds. So he's one of these lean, long guys, super athletic guys from Alabama. What he does really well, he goes from speed to power really, really well. And what that does, that'll eliminate some of his shortcomings with weight. So what he'll do is he'll press the edge here, and then he gets into the chest of the tackle. And he does this consistently, and he just collapses the pocket. And so he can bull rush, but his bull rushes come off speed. So he gets that tackle. If you can see that tackle's running to block him off the edge, and then he just gets off balance. So very, very good speed. You know, he's got 7 sacks. He's got double digits in tackles for a loss. He's just very, very hard to control. He plays with a great motor. He's got great technique. He comes from a super program in Alabama, so he's very well coached. He's very NFL ready. And again, a guy that, you know, doesn't say a lot, and they talked about the culture changes. This is a good football player, and they made a really good choice with him because he's a difference maker in pass rush.
Yeah, and you know, he was on a snap count last week against the Colts and still able to impact that game. So I would imagine they'll ramp him up a little bit more. Take us through this next move and what you see here with him.
So very violent with his hands, very quick with his hands. So you're going to see him on the left of the screen. He's going to work just a simple club and a swim, and he's just got an elite short area quickness and elite short area explosion. So once again, he has set the edge. He does a really good job of swimming, getting to his outside leverage, and then just using his speed to get to the quarterback. And again, this is Trevor Lawrence. So Lawrence has got great feet. He closes very well, and he does this on every play. So he's a guy that plays with great pursuit. Him and Grenard has 12.5 sacks. So having both of those guys back is huge for them because if they can't create pressure, the guards inside for the Browns will handle those defensive tackles. So these guys have to create pressure for the Texans if they're going to get pass rush.
Yeah, and remember, Browns are playing with their 4th and 5th tackles, so it's going to be incumbent upon Christian and Hudson, the guys are going to be out there to be able to block them. All right, take a look at this next clip. What do you see here from Will Anderson?
Well, he's a complete package. So this is what makes it tough. This is his own play away from him. So a lot of teams like to run away, and run away from that end. They either leave him unblocked or they got to cut him off the tackle or tight end. And his get off and his explosion makes him very, very tough to block. So here he doesn't make the play, but in the NFL, if you can stop that back, which he stops him right there, the play's over in the NFL because everybody runs so well. So the job is that, you know, if you're not going to make the play, make him stop. And this is what he does. So when the play's away, he's fast enough to track it down. And, you know, and then because he's undersized, you think one of the things you could do is run at him, which is also very tough. So again, great get off, great read of the reach block, and he just beats him inside and lets his teammates come make the play.
And again, it's a guy that didn't play in the first matchup against the Browns, so Will Anderson likely to go. All right, take us through this final clip with Will Anderson.
So what you get here is now you get to play at him, and you're going to see him right here. It's nothing fancy. It's just him setting the edge with his left arm. So he's going to get in, use both his hands to the chest. He's going to use his left arm to extend that tackle. He sets the edge. That's what people say, setting the edge. That's setting the edge right there. So not only does he set the edge, but he gets off the block and makes the play. So can't run away from him. Hard to run at him. Very good pass rush guy. Very good energy guy. He's important if the Texans have a chance to beat the Browns.
Yeah, and we've kind of alluded to it. You know, you get C.J. Stroud back from that first game, Will Anderson back. It's a team that will give the Browns much, much more problems, strictly because those are two of their best players that didn't play first time around.
Yeah, so now you have trouble because now you can double Grenard, now you can't. And so, you know, they also get Captain back. Their leading tackler has 109 tackles on the year, so they get their tackle, their Harris Cashman and Perriman are very good inside run stoppers. They do struggle in pass protection. I mean, in pass defense. So those linebackers got to be attacked by Njoku. I can see Njoku having a huge day because obviously they're going to have to double team Cooper with his 265 yards that he had in the first meeting. So I see them double teaming Cooper, and I see Njoku really having a big day on both the linebackers and the safeties. Petrie's a good run guy, but also not a great cover guy. So as good as they are in run defense, those guys, especially the linebackers and safeties, struggle in coverage.
Yeah, the other thing that you could expect to see, I would imagine, is some of the screen game with Ford and maybe even Kareem Hunt, just because those two edge guys are it's going to be a struggle for the tackles to block Grenard and Anderson. It just is.
And it's really good, too, because Rankins and the guys inside, those guys are aggressive, too. And what it is that the Browns now with no Nick Chubb and not a super running game anymore, their chunk plays are going to come from their pass game, especially Njoku and Cooper. And part of their run game is going to be the extended run games on bubbles and screens, also the screens to the running backs. And if those guys are going to pin their ears back and not play and not have to worry about the run, then the screen is your next answer. And obviously, I think I've said it for a long time. I believe Kevin Stefanski is a fantastic designer of plays, especially to magnify the strengths and hide the weakness of his players. So I agree with you. The screens will be very big, especially on first down, especially on down and distance that's not necessarily a screen down. So I don't think they'll do much screening on third down, but they'll do a ton of it on first and second.
Lance Reisland, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland, make sure you check him out. Cleveland.com and The Plain Dealer, always really good video analysis, film breakdown. This time, talking about the Texans, what we might see with C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson back. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Let's welcome in John Macri from Pro Football Focus, host of the PFF Fantasy Football Podcast. John, let's start with C.J. Stroud. We've kind of gone through this today, and it's going to be important. He led the NFL in QBR against zone coverage this year, 73.9, which is a really good QBR. But he ranked 27th in man coverage, 38.8. Browns run man one almost 40% of the time, third highest rate in the NFL. The other thing is Jim Schwartz, if he is going to run zone, won't make it look like zone. There's going to be a lot of things that Jim Schwartz, who's been around and is an elite defensive coordinator, does to disguise and mask coverages.
Yeah, and this is such a key part of this matchup, I think. And it's not just his QBR against man and zone, C.J. Stroud. You look at his passing grade against man coverage as well, 56 points or 57.6, which is 24th among 30 qualifying quarterbacks. His adjusted completion rate against man coverage is also 24th. He's only thrown 5 interceptions on the year, but 3 of those interceptions have come against man coverage, despite that man coverage accounting for just 20% of his total dropbacks on the year. And it's not like the Browns are just some, average defense as far as, coverage metrics go when in man coverage. They're among the best in the league at it. So they have the highest defensive success rate in the league when in man. They're first in forced incompletion percentage when in man. They're first in the rate of first downs and touchdowns allowed through the air when they're in man coverage as well. They are one of the very best defenses in the league, and that translates to their man coverage as well. So there's definitely some strengths and weaknesses there that the Browns defense, I think, can take advantage of against this Texans passing game.
Yeah, the appearances, it's just not a great matchup for C.J. Stroud. We'll see. Again, they get to decide it on the field, so we'll see. All right, this is kind of interesting as well. Highest quick pressure rates, 2.5 seconds or less among edge rushers 2023. Micah Parsons, the top with 18.6. Myles Garrett is number 2 at 16.2. Zadarius Smith is 5th, 13.5. So reason that's important, again, man coverage, not a lot of easy throws, not open space to throw to, and Browns defense is going to try to speed up the young quarterback as well. Make him get his feet not set, not eyes where they need to be. Just speed up, which young quarterbacks are prone to do. Now, he's been great, but there's a reason rookies don't win a lot of playoff games.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you look at that list too, and right away the Browns, their top 2 edge defenders are the top 5 in that quick pressure rate as well, right? And I think maybe some people might be surprised to see Zadarius Smith on there, just if they're looking at the counting stats, box score stuff like that. But Zadarius Smith has been excellent this year. He's top 10 among edge rushers in overall win rate. He's top 10 in pass rush grade as well. Just the 5.5 sacks on the year, though. We'd project him for about 8 or 9 just based on how he's played. He just hasn't had that, sack luck that a lot of his peers have had. So he's due for some positive regression as well, which could come as soon as this weekend. So I'm with you. I think, Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith alone are enough of a threat to be concerned about for the Texans offensive line, but they know how to bring pressure there. And I'm with you. I think they do speed it up for a little bit for C.J. Stroud, which could be another key part of this game.
The other thing that Jim Schwartz won't go best on best. They'll move him around. It's not like, we're going to have this guy rush against Laramie Tunsil. He's going to be looking for the weakest link, and he's going to put Zadarius Smith, Myles Garrett, where he views the weakest link, best matchup is for the Browns defensive line.
Yeah, and we saw that in Week 16, right? We saw Myles Garrett. He didn't just line up against Laramie Tunsil, even though he normally would just line up against the left tackle for the most part. They moved him around, and there's some advantages to have here for the Browns defensive line for sure.
We've talked a little bit about Myles Garrett. He spoke yesterday about what is so special about this year's Browns team.
It's the closest knit group I've ever been a part of, and the guys I've talked to come from other teams. They also feel the same way. And that doesn't happen very often. You've had good teams or even great teams that didn't like each other but work well together. But when you have a team that really fights for their brother because they love him and they want to do their best for him, that's something that helps make teams that last for a very long time. Good teams that last for a very long time. And we're on step 1, but we got to continue to keep progressing.
Miles, because you made the playoffs in 2020 and then you went 2 years with them. Does that increase the sense of urgency or increase the sense of awareness that these things can be rare, these moments can be rare?
Increases my appreciation for moments like this and how to approach them, how to attack it, because it's not something I can take for granted because it's not promised. And I'm going to make the most out of it and continue to make my guys understand and that this is something that you want to appreciate and give your all to right now, because you'll never know what happens, whether in your personal life, on the field, off the field. It's not promised.
And John, it's been interesting. The Browns have had that kind of mindset and tone all week long. It's not like they're happy to be here. They expect to be here, but they realize there's an opportunity.
Definitely an opportunity. Like you said, the matchup on paper, I think favors the Browns. But again, you never know what happens. That's why they play the games. It's on the road as well. I think a lot of people still, kind of counting them out because you got a 38-year-old quarterback back there, Joe Flacco. People are expecting the wheels to fall off as well. And I think they recognize that. I think they know that there's a lot of doubters for that team, and they've consistently proved people wrong all year long. They've been very, very good. So I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait.
So Denzel Ward tweaked his knee in practice yesterday. He's questionable for the game. The expectation, at least here in town, is that he'll be able to go. But let's take a look at some differences, and it's pretty drastic. So 13 games with Denzel Ward. On top of things, you see the defensive grade near the top, EPA 8th, completion rate allowed 1st, yards per coverage snap 3rd, success rate, explosive play rate, all near the top, and they trend towards the middle and near the 10, top 3rd without Ward. When you look at that, how big of an asset is Denzel Ward to this really good defense?
He's a huge part of it, right? He's had an excellent year. He's their top corner. And like you said, it's a noticeable difference for sure. But I think the reassuring thing here is that the Browns defense, in almost all of those metrics, still a top 10 defense without him, which is really impressive considering, him being their top corner. And I think that part of it just speaks to guys stepping up as well. Greg Newsome having the best grades of his 3-year career, which includes a 74.6 coverage grade. You got Martin Emerson in there, who I know struggled against Houston last game, but on the season as a whole has been really solid, hasn't given up a touchdown on 544 coverage snaps. You got other guys who weren't starters coming into the year. D'Anthony Bell has been really solid as well at safety. I know they'll be without Grant Delpit again this week. So guys stepping up, I think, has been kind of one of the themes here for the Browns defense, and they've definitely done a nice job.
John Macri from Pro Football Focus, co-host of the PFF Fantasy Football Podcast, and I can step aside, take a quick time out. We'll talk more specifically about some of the matchups to pay attention in the Texans-Browns game coming up in about 24 hours. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Ooh, holiday gold! The $20 scratch-off?
It has 100 times multiplier. I could win $1 million.
Psych! I got Merry and Bright.
No fair.
It has a 200 times multiplier. I could win $2 million!
Game on the back.
Game on the back. Game on the back! Game on the back! Game on the back! Game on the back! Game.
We continue talking Browns with John Macri from Pro Football Focus. He's co-host of the PFF Fantasy Football Podcast. Pete Prisco from CBS Sports talking with Brady Quinn, their thoughts of this Browns-Texans matchup.
You do have experience versus not experience with Joe Flacco and CJ Stroud. Joe Flacco, 7 road playoff wins. That is tied with the most with Tom Brady. We'll start with you on this one.
And he's been great in the playoffs. I mean, that's one thing you can say about Joe Flacco. He's been outstanding in the postseason, and I think that's going to carry over here. I think the Texans are a year ahead of where they should be, probably. So they get in. It's gravy for them. C.J. Stroud's been phenomenal. I just don't think they have enough around him and enough on the defensive side to slow the Browns down. I think Flacco has a good day. I'll take the veteran quarterback. I'll take the Browns.
It's a fair assessment. Honestly, it is. I mean, I think if they had Tank Dell, you'd probably feel a little different about it, although how Nico Collins has played, if they get Noah Brown back for this one, some other pieces. C.J. Stroud has showcased the ability to do more with less, and that's why I'm taking the points, the 2.5 points, and the home underdog. I'm not saying that they win, but I think this thing is going to be razor close. Look, Cleveland's defense has been outstanding this year. Cleveland's defense has been outstanding this year. Flacco's played well in that spot, but Texans have been good against the run. I think if this game gets into a shootout, even though Cleveland's got the edge rushers, I still trust C.J. Stroud right now the way he's playing.
John, I understand what Brady Quinn's saying. Again, give me the veteran who has elite playoff experience and results. And again, I could be wrong, but I would not rely on a rookie in the playoffs.
It's hard, right? It's a tough spot to come in, and it's nice that they're at home. I think that helps C.J. Stroud, but like we've been saying, I mean, you look at the defense of the Browns. This is not some ordinary defense they're going up against. One of the best in the league. Jim Schwartz as well. I think they're going to be able to take advantage of the rookie quarterback this week. At least that's my feeling. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I'm with you. I think there's an advantage here for Cleveland's defense at least.
This is also interesting. So Kevin Stefanski is 8-5 in second or third matchups in the same season. 5 losses. 2023 Week 18 Cincinnati. It was just last week. They played all the backups. 2022 Week 18 against Pittsburgh, already eliminated. 2022 Week 14, it was Watson's second game back against the Bengals. 2021 Week 17, that was Baker's final game. 2020 Week 14, Baltimore, they lost an overtime game where they just kind of got outscored by the Ravens. Bottom line is, Kevin Stefanski, a lot of people here in Cleveland question the play calling. He's really good at subtle tweaks against similar opponent or the same opponent. He's really good with an understanding of how to beat a defense with his offense.
Yeah, I think that's important too. And then I think it was really nice to see that Joe Flacco himself had arguably his best game of the season against the Houston Texans defense. And it was, at least from the grading standpoint, he had a 90-something grade in that game, which was by far the best of the year so far. And I think just seeing where Flacco's had success against that defense is also a really big help in preparing for a second matchup against this team. And I know, CJ Stroud and Nico Collins didn't play in that game as far as, offense versus defense goes for Houston. But on the Browns offensive side, that is at least a nice thing to kind of take away from that. And knowing Kevin Stefanski too, having that success, a former coach of the year, I think he can absolutely game plan some positive things here for the Browns again.
All right, so let's take a look at some matchups that you think are key in this one. I know the first one is Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith against Heck or George Fant. So that's the right tackle opposite Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, so it sounds like after a few weeks now of the team kind of rolling with Charlie Heck at right tackle, it looks like George Fant is back getting the first team reps and will be the likely starter for that game. He's definitely performed better than Heck this year. Obviously, Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, one of the best on that side. But Garrett and Smith, I think they're going to move around. They do that from game to game. We talked about that. And nobody's really a match for Myles Garrett, obviously, but I do think that Zadarius Smith, if he does still see the majority of his snaps at right tackle, that's still an advantage for Zadarius Smith, again, who is a top 10 player at his position in key pass rush metric categories for us. So you look at George Fant, for example, 69.4 pass blocking grade, which is about league average. It is definitely better than Charlie Heck. If they do roll with Charlie Heck again, it's an even bigger advantage for Zadarius Smith. Charlie Heck ranks 86th among 89 qualifying offensive tackles in pass blocking grades. So I think it seems like Houston's going to go back to Fant, but either way, I really like the advantage here for the Browns on the edge group.
This is going to be a big one for the Browns defense. Nico Collins against the Browns secondary. I saw Collins has some of the highest yards after catch numbers in the NFL. What do you see with this Collins against Browns secondary matchup?
Yeah, so this is the guy, like you said. He's in the midst of a breakout season. We talked about CJ Stroud struggling against man coverage. Nico Collins does not. He has a 91.6 receiving grade versus man. That's second to only CeeDee Lamb. He also has 4.27 yards per route run versus man, which is third behind CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill. The rest of the Texans' receiving options across all positions are nowhere close to that. So Nico Collins, I think, has to be given the special treatment to in this matchup, considering his success this season and specifically in how he can help Stroud kind of overcome some of his own issues against Cleveland's elite man coverage unit, because he's been so good himself. So that, I think, is going to be absolutely the player to kind of hone in on here for the defense.
What do you think they do? How do you? They're not one that usually helps this defense. It's usually lock them up, get after the quarterback. How do you deal with Collins if you're the Browns?
Yeah, that's the thing. I would hope that there's at least a little bit of help there. He's really good at everything. He's not just kind of like an underneath guy or a deep threat guy. He really has done it all this year, which has been a real positive for the Texans offense. So it would have been nice, I think, getting Grant Delpit back, even though I think Juan Thornhill would probably be the over-the-top safety there, obviously, to kind of help in that regard. So I would hope that there's some help over the top, not just leaving guys one-on-one, especially if Denzel Ward can't go. But if they're not going to help, you got to hope that it's because it's Denzel Ward is playing and healthy in this game. I think he's probably their best chance to go one-on-one with him.
This one also has to concern the Browns offense. So the edge rushers, it looks like Will Anderson, really talented rookie, and Grenard both will be back. Browns on their 4th and 5th tackles offensively.
Yeah, that's one of the big advantages here for, I think, Houston, right, is Anderson and Grenard questionable for this game. Seems like they'll play, like you said. They're both having great seasons. Jonathan Grenard racking up sacks at a very impressive rate so far. Will Anderson looking like that 3rd overall pick that he was drafted to be. These guys can definitely be dangerous. Unfortunately, the weakness right now for the Browns is at offensive tackle with so many injuries. Jerron Christian, James Hudson kind of been below average at the position so far. Both of those guys sitting at sub 60 pass blocking grades. They both allowed 4 sacks each, around 30 pressures each, which doesn't sound overly bad, but they've only been half-year starters as well. So they're going to need some help there. I really like what Harrison Bryant has done as a pass blocker. I think, getting some running back and chip help to kind of slow those guys down a little bit, because those are the main threats along that defensive line for sure. So hopefully that'll be an area of emphasis here for the Browns pass blocking unit.
All right, the other thing that you say is avoid Derek Stingley. Take us through what you mean by that, what you see with Stingley.
Yeah, so Stingley, after a pretty underwhelming, I think, rookie year, has really bounced back this year, having a great year here in year 2 under DeMeco Ryans. He has an 84.9 coverage grade on the year, which is 5th among all cornerbacks. He's got 5 interceptions, 6 pass breakups on the year. He's allowed just a 53.8% completion rate into his coverage, which is 17th best. And the thing is, he only really stays on that left side, right? So Amari Cooper travels, and not to say that he can't beat Stingley, but there's definitely a lesser of two evils here with the Houston corners, with Steven Nelson on the opposite side, who's been good, but not nearly as good as Derek Stingley. So I'll be really interested mostly just to see how the Browns approach those matchups, because Amari Cooper, definitely, the top wide receiver for the Browns. I don't think there's much question about that, where, they may need a little bit more receiving help there. So I think, when it comes to crucial 3rd downs or maybe 4th downs that they need to convert, I think you can take advantage of Stingley staying to one side and kind of avoid him, and put Amari Cooper maybe on that other side there and take advantage of that matchup instead. Also David Njoku as well, who's been excellent, but not somebody that necessarily lines up out wide a lot, but I do like him as well.
Before I let you go, any chance you think they travel Stingley with Cooper, just based on the success Cooper had that initial matchup?
Yeah, it's a good question, right? Like they haven't done it this year. I mean, if I'm a defensive coach, it's hard, right? Because you see, the coaches see these guys in practice, and cornerbacks maybe do have a tendency to play better on one side or the other, or in the slot versus not, and they kind of know what their strengths are, and they haven't really done it this year. So that's what kind of tells me that they won't do it, but I don't know, just as an outside observer, as somebody who isn't really familiar with the team, it is something that I think I would at least do if I was the Texans. Is I'd rather have Stingley following Amari Cooper around all game than not. But yeah, we'll see how they do it. It'll be interesting.
John Macri from Pro Football Focus, as always. Great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, John.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good luck.
John Macri, check him out, Pro Football Focus, co-host of the PFF Fantasy Football Podcast. It's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here Monday at 4 o'clock, talking all about the Browns-Texans game. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday at 4 on Sports for CLE.